everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to film a homeschool update for you guys. So it is end of February, quite a bit over halfway through this school year. And so today I don't know if I have a lot to really update. I just kind of wanted to talk about this school year and how things are going for us this year. Overall, it's just been a little bit of a crazy year. Like, our routines have been thrown out. I have changed our homeschool schedule a few times throughout this school year. I think, okay, well, let's do this. I think this is gonna work better now. And then a month later, I'm like, no, let's switch things up and start with math, and we just keep switching it, and it's totally good. Overall, it's just kind of felt like an off year. I know that a big part of that is that we moved just before the school year started, so we moved middle of August. With all the work and stuff we had to do on this house, we didn't start school until beginning of October. And then even after we've started, I think it's just, for one, I have a toddler, and that kind of always throws a wrench into things. And I think, okay, this is the worst year. I don't really want to say that, but he's at that hardest age because he is currently 16 months. But then I remember my daughter Zara, when she was around 2, I think that was the hardest time, because she wasn't just crawling around and maybe needing my help and needing to be held and stuff. She was climbing onto chairs and then climbing onto the table and throwing school books off the table. And so as far as that goes, I don't know, next year might be hard too. Having a little one when you're homeschooling is always a little bit difficult. But then as well, because we moved about a half hour away from where we were living, all of our appointments have still been in the town where we were living. And so instead of just driving 5 minutes to a dentist appointment or an eye doctor's appointment or whatever we had to do, we had to drive, 35 minutes to that appointment. And so because of that, the days that we had appointments, we couldn't just do school for a while and then go to that appointment. If we had to go into town, that was our day. Our day was not a normal school day at all. So I'm giving all kinds of excuses of why our school year's been off, but overall, I don't know. It's just been a pretty crazy school year. It's been good, honestly. There just hasn't been a lot of structure. There have been so many weeks where we have 2 or 3 days of school that are consistent, and then one half day of school, and then one homeschool co-op day, and it's just been kind of an off year. And honestly, I am totally okay with it. I know I'm gonna get comments that say it's okay, you're all right, you can be flexible and whatever. I am okay with it. I'm not even trying to complain. I honestly feel like I am good with it. Learning has just looked completely different for us. So we have a day where we're starting school late, or we're not doing school. And my first grader comes and says, "Mom, look, I just colored yellow and I colored blue and it makes green. Did you know that yellow and blue make green?" Or my second grader was playing with Lego and she's putting together this little house she's building, and she's like, there are 4 blocks on this side and then it goes 8 long, and so 8 times 4, I know 8 times 4 is 32. And there's just been so many opportunities like that, so much practical learning, that even if we're not getting our bookwork done, I think my kids have been learning, and that's the kind of learning that I like to see the most. I would always choose those real situations where they're learning, because that's what they remember the most. So if we were to be sitting down and doing schoolwork, and my husband comes in and says, "I want to take Elijah out to show him how to change the oil in my car," okay, just giving a situation, I would never say, "No, he has to do math, and that's more important." No, I would say, "Yes, go with your dad and learn how to do this job," because those real life learning skills are super duper important. And I think one of the most beneficial parts of homeschooling is that we can integrate that real life learning all throughout the day, as well as their bookwork. Their bookwork, of course, is important, but those real life skills, that is what they're going to remember. So much of the bookwork is inside their head and out, and they don't ever remember it. So as far as how our school books are going, All right, I'll kind of give you a quick rundown with our curriculum. So for geography, I've shared with you guys that we're doing Galloping the Globe. We did the first half of it last school year, and my plan was to do the second half of it this school year. And then I think it was September, it was before school started, so probably August, our printer ran out of ink, which of course happens all the time. I went to Costco and bought new ink for our printer. And then for some reason our printer wouldn't take the ink, like it wouldn't accept it. And so I returned it. I was gonna buy more, and then I thought, you know what, I'm tired of like buying inks so often. I'm gonna see if I can find a better printer. And so I was talking with my mom, and she was telling me about her printer that has like big ink tanks. So you put the ink into the tanks rather than always having cartridges, and apparently it's a lot more cost efficient. And so I thought, perfect, I'm gonna get one of those printers, but it is so far down my list of things to buy for our house that I haven't bought a printer yet. And so we've been without a printer since August. We still have our printer because once in a while we'll scan things onto our computer, but we don't have a printer. So that has definitely changed how our school year has gone, because our geography curriculum is basically made up of reproducible pages. And so we just haven't done geography all year. We've looked at a map a few times and like reviewed different things about like reading a map. But we haven't actually done geography only for that silly reason of us not having a printer. And yes, of course I could take my book into like Staples or into a store and get it photocopied, and I just haven't. So lame excuse, we haven't done any geography this year. One subject I'm having a little bit of a hard time with is our grammar, and we've been using first language lessons since the beginning, first grade, second grade, third grade, and now into fourth grade. And I think I'm about done with these books. Level 1 and 2, I really enjoy. But I think I'm just tired of it because I've been doing it. I've done it so many times, like one child's in first grade, and then the next year, my next child's in first grade. And so we've just done it so many times over. And they've heard their older siblings doing it so much that by the time I get to a new lesson, they're like, oh, I remember this story, and oh, I already know this poem, because they learned it with their older sibling. And so I'm just repeating it every year, and I think I'm just ready to try something new. On top of that, my oldest, he is still just finishing off level 3 of first language lessons, and it is deep. Like, there is so much that he's doing in it. He's diagramming, he's learning about predicate nominative, he's learning about contractions, and he's learning about and he's just getting pretty far into like the diagramming, and he does okay with it. But there are times that I'll say, okay, and so which word's the adjective? And he'll still forget what an adjective is when we're already diagramming like predicate adjectives and direct objects. And it's just gotten so deep into diagramming. And I think you're only in 4th grade. Like, I am pretty sure, I was homeschooled, but I'm pretty sure I never diagrammed once all through my schooling. And then I went to college and I learned how to diagram. And so most of the kids in my class had diagrammed before. It was my first time, but I passed the class just fine. I don't even remember, but I had no issue in that class at all. Just because I was old enough to easily understand diagramming, where I feel like Elijah's still like, it's a little bit tricky for him, and I just feel like he doesn't need to be doing something this hard yet. We could be reviewing nouns and adjectives and he'd be fine with that. My last problem with our grammar is that my kids are all at different levels. So a lot of our curriculum, I try to combine us, but our grammar, they're all at different levels. And it's hard for me to find time to devote to one child. We do that with math and writing, but other than that, like, I don't do a lot of individual lessons for their different levels. And so that's been a little bit tricky because it's very much like I am right there for the 15 minutes of their lesson. So we've been doing like, each kid has one lesson a week. That's what we've been doing this year, but we don't get very far very quickly when they each only do grammar one time a week. So I definitely want to do something next year where I can combine all the kids. And so if you have any suggestions for me, I'm totally open for that. Spelling is going really well. Our science and history, again, they're going really well. We've just been going a little bit slowly through them. So I think probably beginning of February, beginning to mid-February is when I looked at our books and thought, okay, we've reached the halfway point of these books. So we're just going through them a little bit slower than we should be, and that's okay because they love those books. So if we do it into the summer, they're good with that. They love sitting and listening to me read. The other thing with our history is that I usually get the activity book, and I know that for level 4 story of the world, I should have said for science we're doing Apologia's Swimming Creatures of the Fifth Day, which we are really enjoying, and we're also doing Dr. Bonafide's Bones of the Hands, Arms, and Shoulder. Okay, but for the activity book for level 4 story of the world, it's only online. You don't get a book, you have to do it online and print it. And again, because we don't have a printer, we haven't done any activity pages. We've just been doing it as a read aloud. The kids do enjoy doing the work pages, so I should just go to the store and get them printed, but I haven't, so we've just been doing history as a read aloud. For math, my oldest 2 are still doing teaching textbooks, and then Simeon, who is my first grader, is doing Matthew C. He's doing very well with that. Again, kind of fail in our household. Our DVD player broke before we moved, and again, it's pretty low on our to purchase list, and so we don't have a DVD player, and so he hasn't been watching the DVDs. I'm saying this all thinking like it sounded good in my head, but now that I'm saying it all, it's like, oh, this is kind of lame. No Matthew C DVDs, but I just have to explain the lesson to him, and he's doing really well. Learning his lessons. We're really happy with both of those math programs. Reading is going well. My kids spend so much time reading, so I do have them all sit down each day and do a little bit of assigned reading where I tell them what they have to read, but they spend so much time reading library books, books off of our bookshelf. So for instance, my first grader, and I've posted videos of him reading on Instagram and here on YouTube too, and I'll get questions saying, how does he read so well? And talk about there's kids that are struggling with reading. And of course, every child is different, but to be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time teaching him to read. We did teach your child to read in 100 Easy Lessons when he was in kindergarten, but now he reads. And he just spends so much time reading. I don't work with him. He just reads. So every day our kids have about an hour. The younger ones have about an hour and a half of quiet time. And Simeon reads his entire quiet time every single day. So sometimes it's Calvin and Hobbes. Sometimes it's just some chapter book. Sometimes it's just some picture books, whatever he wants. But he spends like an hour and a half reading at least every day on top of his assigned reading. And so he's gotten so good at reading just by reading, and so I love that our kids are really learning to enjoy reading. Our writing curriculum as well, going really well. Explode the Code, Handwriting and Without Tears, and they're both just going really well. We also have Bible time every day, and that's probably been one of our most consistent subjects, and that's just because we start our day with Bible, and so that's been consistent. Our core subjects really have been consistent. I also do a lot of read aloud, so that is one thing that we very rarely miss is our read aloud time. We've gone through a few books this year. We've gone through Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass. I don't even remember what we did at the beginning of the year. We did our Advent book during the month of December. We did, what did we do last? We did Charlotte's Web. Now we're just finishing up The Secret Garden. I do spend time reading aloud to them every day, and that's one of their favorite times of the day. Of course, my 4-year-old is doing her junior kindergarten work, and she is loving it. She wants to do school every day. If the other kids are doing school, she wants to be right there doing school with them, which can be a challenge sometimes because she's like, what can I do next? What can I do next? And I just want to say, like, Zara, just go play. And sometimes I do, like, just go play. You don't need to do school, just go play. And she's like, no, I need to do school. So I'm always trying to find more work pages for her to do and more like little games for her to do. And she just loves it. She loves doing schoolwork. So I think she'll have a very easy, smooth transition into kindergarten next year when we start her on a little bit more math and learning to read and stuff. But overall, I mean, I'm saying our school year has been a flop, but really it's been good. I think our kids have come a long way. They've learned a lot. We've had a lot of fun days, a lot of, again, real life learning experiences. But it hasn't looked it hasn't looked smooth. It hasn't looked like a normal school year, but that is what homeschooling is about, and I love that. I love that I could keep them home and not send them to school for the first month of school, and they got to watch us paint, and they got to help us build stuff and just fix up the house and tear up flooring, and all of that has been a lot of fun, and I'm so glad our kids got to experience that. And that's really it for our homeschool update. We'll see. We like to finish beginning of June. That might be a stretch this year, but I do love to have as much of the summer off as I can because we are in Ontario. I am not enthused at all or interested in the idea of full year schooling, year-round schooling, and a lot of people do it and love it. And if I lived somewhere else, I would definitely consider it, but where we live, it is winter. Like, there could easily be snow on the ground from like end of October to the end of April. And so those summer months we love, and we want to be outside and absorbing all of that and just enjoying not having school during those summer months. So we'll see. We'll see when we end this year. But thank you guys for watching and sticking through, and just for listening to me chat about this school year. So let me know down below how your school year is going. I'm interested to hear if anybody else is having a little bit of a crazy school year. And we'll see you guys in my next video.